right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Couple housekeeping notes. We are recording this. Everyone will be muted during the presentation. And then after the presentation, Julio will open it up to some questions. The best way to send questions through the system, there's a Q&A button on your screen or the chat window. And I'll be monitoring the questions and helping Julio and Bill answer those. And Diane will be able to help answer those if they're related to the chamber as well. Also, if you have a technical issue, please drop me an email through the chat and I'll do my best to help you remotely. Other than that, Diane, I'm going to turn it over to you so we can get going. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I thank you for joining us on the webinar this morning. The Chamber of Commerce has a business resource center where we have several partners that can help businesses obviously be more successful, and one of them is the Small Business Administration, and Julio and his crew there have been great partners to work with, and so we thank him very much for taking time out of his day, especially during all of this mess, to go over the new programs that are being offered to small businesses. Julio, I'll let you take it from there.
Diane, thank you. And again, good morning to all the chamber members and community leaders. This is an interesting week. And again, I have information that I really want to share with you in terms of what's available to small businesses and also for non-for-profits that have been injured because of the economic shutdown in the last couple of weeks. But before then, I just want to let folks know that there are a lot of changes coming down from Washington, and I know a lot of us are reading information as we're actually almost hour by hour. So what I'm going to be doing for the next few minutes is talking about what we have available today. And then as the new changes come from Washington under this CARE Act, then we could probably have a follow-up program again in the next couple of days. But hopefully what I want to do is just interject, get you into the preparation mode of getting yourselves organized so that you begin the process of application today. And don't worry about whether changes are coming. We will work with you. If there are any changes in any of these programs, we will work with you and find the other alternatives that will be coming from Washington. But my goal here as Deputy District Director for the Small Business Administration in Connecticut is to get you into that thinking mode, get you prepared, get your information together, and literally start finding ways to process your request for financial assistance. So saying that, what I wanted to do is introduce you to the program. And if you can bear up, I'm having a little, I think I uploaded, Diane and Steve, I think I uploaded the wrong PowerPoint. If you give me 1 second.
All right, thanks, Julio.
Steve, are you able to the PowerPoint that I had sent you a couple of days ago? Can you upload that one?
Let me check on my end and give me a moment and I'll get back to you.
Give us 1 minute while we update the program. It's the same presentation, but this is a shorter version because this was for to be presented to those individuals that were going to work with the businesses in getting their applications and information updated. So it's a little bit more of an abbreviated program, but the one I wanted to present is a little bit longer. So bear with me 1 minute, please.
While you guys are doing that, I'll say that the Chamber has been working with a lot of small businesses to navigate some of the programs that are out there from different agencies. This morning, the DECD came out with a new loan program up to $75,000. We put that out in a newsletter. If you're not getting our newsletter, you can go to our website, which is wyndhamchamber.com. And all of the information and every newsletter that we sent out with updated information is there for you to click on and see. It's been very challenging for everyone, especially the unemployment. We've helped some businesses figure out how to apply for unemployment. the different options that are out there between the shared work program, new guidelines for unemployment, new benefits, the paid family leave, the paid sick leave. So if you have any of those questions, feel free to give us a call.
Thank you, Diane.
Back on, Steve?
I am. Thank you. Julio, I loaded up the screen. Can you see
Thank
it
you.
on your
Thank
end?
you.
All right.
Technology is always fascinating when, even when you prepare. So if we could move to the first slide.
Sure. Julio, before we do that, I think
Yes.
Bill would like to say something.
Bill, are you on the, yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Bill. Take it away. Let me get to him. Hold on, Bill. All right. Bill?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
I didn't want to steal Julio's thunder. I figured while he was trying to get to the payload and update the web page, I just wanted to cover some of the real quick basics, but Julio's back online. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I will defer back to Julio and answer questions where I can and how I can. Thank you, Julio.
Thank you, Bill. So Steve, if we could go into the first slide. I just wanted to introduce the administrator, Jovita Carranza. She just came on board this year. She's formerly, honestly, if you look at your dollar bills, she was the former U.S. Treasurer. So in many of your dollar bills, her signature would be there, signing on the for U.S. Treasury. And she took on the role of becoming the U.S. Administrator just a couple of months ago. Some of you recall that Linda McMahon was on that position for a couple of years prior to her. And Jovita's background, she was a former executive of UPS, United Parcel Services. So she knows and understands what it is to deliver and produce in massive quantities what really in this country we need right now in terms of financial assistance. So hopefully with her guidance and with the hundreds and thousands of employees that are at SBA, we could make this transition of getting finances out to you as quickly as possible. Next slide. Now, what is economic injury disaster loans? Under the SBA Act, we usually do not provide direct financial assistance unless it's been declared a disaster. And usually SBA works through banks. Our guarantee programs are through the banks, but in times of critical need, as we are in today, when the White House and President declares a national disaster, then SBA can or will roll up its disaster program, which is direct financing through Treasury directly to the borrower without them having going through a bank. So that's how the SBA functions in times of disaster. You've probably seen us during hurricanes where we set up alongside with FEMA. In this disaster today, which has been declared, we were the third in the nation to have been approved to begin the SBA's disaster program, along with Rhode Island and New Jersey. Today, since then, all 50 states have been declared. So when we talk about the disaster assistance, which is usually down to the level of a county when a disaster is declared, all of Connecticut has been declared a disaster, along with the contiguous state counties, which abut Connecticut, which include Rhode Island and New York. So everyone that's within the counties, or in this case, say all of Connecticut, all businesses, and these are small businesses that are in Connecticut, can apply for financial assistance through the SBA program under the Economic Injury Disaster Declaration that was made last Monday. These businesses that offer services directly related to the business and declaration, other businesses indirectly related can apply. A good example of this would be an arena, where the arena has vendors that are in the arena. Those vendors also can be included in the application process. So if you're a small business and you have a Schedule C, or you're a non-for-profit 501c3, or you're a corporation, partnership, LLC, you qualify under this program. So let us decide. That's what I've been telling everyone that calls me, is you apply. Don't worry about whether you qualify or not. Let SBA determine that for you. Steve, next slide. The three-step process that SBA uses is credit history. We just want to make sure that the individual is in existence. We're trying to prevent fraud where individuals apply. So we're looking for the individual owner of that business or partnership in terms of providing us information on themselves to make sure that this is a well-known business. I would not worry about a business that's only been around for 2 months. We will take your application, whether you've been in existence just for 1 month and your business happened to have been impacted by the declaration, you do qualify. However, if you've been in business for 3-5 years, you will be required to file tax returns that cover up to 3 years of your financial business. So, and if you did not file, say, 2019, then just prepare a balance and income statement or your own QuickBooks or whatever information you have that covers you through 2019, because of the extensions of the by IRS through July 15. There'll be a lot of businesses who predominantly might be LLCs, and they will not be required to file until April 15. So you're figuring that they might not file until July 15. All you have to do is just provide us with your balance and income statement. You can work with your accountant. Repayment, that's what SBA is going to be looking at. Basically, is that you are able to pay back whatever you're asking for. So we do look at your financial cash flow just to make sure that what you're asking for is within the realm of what you can pay back. And again, the reason is that this program is up to $2 million. So the declaration in Connecticut or nationally is for relief up to $2 million at a rate of 3.75%. And the loan can be maxed out to 30 years. So for instance, if you're applying for $200,000, then the rate would be fixed at 3.75% and can be rolled up to 30 years. The question would be, is this done by disbursements or like under a letter of credit, under a line of credit? No, these are term loans. So at closing, you would be provided with the full amount that you have requested to cover your short and long-term needs of operating capital. Now, the eligibility under this program, as I had mentioned, is driven by the SBA disaster regulations that are based by county, and all of Connecticut is covered, including the contiguous counties that are abutting Connecticut, both in the north up to the Springfield area, north of Connecticut, and on the other side in eastern, Westchester, and you're looking at Rhode Island. So all of these three, for instance, Massachusetts has been declared, New York has been declared, and so has Rhode Island. So if your business is domiciled in Rhode Island, then Rhode Island is where you'll be considered for your financial declaration. Steve, next slide. Again, as I just mentioned, the loans are up to $2 million. The interest rates are 3.75. There is a caveat for non-for-profit organizations. The interest rate there is 2.75, and it's also for 30 years. So if you're a healthcare provider, if you're a nursing home, if you're a community organization that's been registered as a 501c3 and you file tax returns as 990 tax returns on an annual basis, you would qualify under our program for $2 million. So again, if you concern yourself as to what type of entity you are, could give me a call or just go ahead and file. Don't concern about the structure of your organization. SBA will consider the applicants as they're submitted. Now, the eligibility for these programs are for working capital. And again, working capital, and we'll be talking about that in some of the other slides, but is basically for your operating needs, which include payroll. And you'll be seeing some slides on that also. Just be aware that this is not to improve the operations of your business. Oh, I need to have a new walk-in refrigerator. I need to upgrade my equipment. No, this is for operating needs, is not for fixed asset needs. That would be under a different program with SBA. So if you're in need for that would be a different application method. The economic injury loans are strictly to cover those losses that started as of February 1st and could go into the future as many months as you consider that your business would need to be up and running again fully. Next slide. Now, most of the questions, some of the questions we do get are, what are my options? What does SBA look for? And just to let you know, any loan under $25,000, if I just need $25,000 or $20,000 or $15,000, for SBA, that loan will be unsecured. There will be no collateral asked at that time of application. As you're moving through the process, the loan will be unsecured. Any loan above $25,000, the SBA will be considering collateral and the assets of the individual owner of the business to secure the loan. The question is, well, I don't have enough assets or collateral to secure the loan. SBA will take whatever available collateral is at the time that the application moves forward and gets approved. So don't worry about collateral. I have a $100,000 loan request. My business only has $50,000 in collateral. I don't have any, I rent. Don't worry about that. SBA will assume whatever collateral is in the business to make this loan happen. What SBA is looking for is that you can pay back the loan, that you have the cash flow in good times and in bad times to pay back the loan. So, and then the question is, well, I can't afford this payment next month because I'm shut down. Presently, we were just informed that there is a deferral period for 12 months on the loan. So from the date of closing for 12 months, you do not have to pay principal and interest on the loan. So again, I would not worry about, do I have to make a payment on this loan 1 month after I close it? The answer is no. SBA knows about this individual question about concern of payment and have extended the rules to cover 12 months of non-payment. Next slide. Again, I had mentioned earlier in this process as to what kind of small businesses can apply for this loan. And we do get questions like this. And in this slide, you'll see some of the businesses that can apply, and it's from the hospitality industry, recreational facilities. I've gotten calls about one of these gymnastic karate schools. They qualify. Charter boats, manufacturers, sports vendors, owners of rental property. If I have a property and I'm renting and and it's impacting me because the lessees are not paying my rent, you can also apply for this loan. Restaurants, retailers, souvenir shops, travel agencies, and wholesalers. Most of the calls that I've been getting and my colleagues in the office, a lot of restaurants, because they were impacted immediately, they qualify. So again, if you think that you're in an industry and you wonder, does my industry qualify for this program? Again, apply. Let SBA determine it, and someone will get back to you. Just go through the processing methods, and if you have a question at the end, I'll provide you the emails and phone numbers that you can call. And again, the basic criteria under our disaster program as as written in regulation, is that the property has to be located in the physical area where the disaster was declared. So if your business is in Connecticut, and it doesn't matter what town, you qualify. And if you're in Rhode Island, you qualify. And if you're in Massachusetts, any of the counties in Massachusetts, you qualify. And if it's in New York, you qualify. Next slide. And again, for us that work in the field for SBA, the program, we refer to it as the EIDL program, and it's strictly the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, but just the acronym EIDL is what we use. And sometimes in government, we have a lot of acronyms, and this is the acronym that is thrown around specifically for this program. The second sentence in there, disasterloan.sba.gov, that's where you could go directly to get information on the program. And again, I will provide it, and I'm certain Diane, I sent out kind of a handout sheet. She could, the chamber can send it out to you. It has information on all of the points that you could communicate with SBA. But in general, if you're looking to immediately apply for the loan, the direct link would be sba.gov/disaster. So it's sba.gov/disaster will get you onto the link. Now, we've been having issues because as more states came online, the application demand is exceeding at times the volume that the system can't accept. My suggestion is to try to do these offline, off hours after 5 and maybe before 8 in the morning, when less people are not in the application mode of trying to all cram in applications between 9 and 5. So maybe trying to get your information in after 9 p.m. at night would be the best way to do it, since the volume is less. So that would help in terms of you not being frustrated where you just cannot get through the process mechanism. The mechanism really is all internet-based, is web-based. And again, to have access to the system, it would be that sba.gov/disaster. That's what's going to get you onto the website, where then you begin the process to apply for the loan. The other question we do get, is SBA going to charge us a fee? The answer is no. There is no cost to apply. The next question is, well, if I apply, can I cancel? Can I ask for less money? The answer is yes, yes, yes. You could go all the way to the end of the dance and decide to pull out, and SBA will not question. They will just basically cancel out your loan or leave it in suspension until you decide what you want to do. But SBA will not charge you a fee. They will not charge you any closing costs, and there's not going to be any pressure to close. You will be working with an underwriter. The underwriter will be working with you on any of the documentation they need to determine how much money you need. So and usually what they're looking at is, what are your operating expenses for the last 2 years or 3 years, or the current year, if you have that information. And that's what they're looking to fund. What are your operating expenses on the income statement? They're not looking at your balance sheet. They're not going to pay down your loans. They're not going to cancel out your debt. Now, if you do have payments that are tied to loans, you can include them in your payments. So if I have a payment that is impacting me on my business and it's $2,000 a month, I can include it in the application process. There is a sheet that when you apply, that's going to ask you for what are your liabilities that you're paying out monthly. And on that sheet, you detail all of your payment obligations that you have relative to your business, so that SBA can include them in your cash approval. So just be aware of that. And again, the obligation, you don't have any obligation to take the loan. The maximum unsecured loan, again, is $25,000. Questions asked: if I was approved for $40,000, but I don't want to collateralize and secure the loan, then you can decrease it to $25,000. It's your call, it's your decision. So don't get hung up on the collateral again, because SBA will take whatever collateral appears on the balance sheet of the business and or what appears on your personal assets. Next slide. As I had indicated, the key application is a form called Form 5. When you apply online, you'll see it up on the top-hand side. That's the form that you'll be filling out. The 5C is for sole proprietors. But in general, the Form 5 or the Form 5C are the ones that you're going to be filling out. When you're online, these are forms that you're going to be pulling up, filling them, and then resubmitting it back online in the same website that you were in. Tax forms, you're going to be required to sign in this form called the 4506T. This is an IRS form, and basically what it is a printed transcript of your tax return, which SBA just wants to make sure that what you're providing them has been provided to the IRS. This again is to prevent fraud, where someone says, I made $500,000 on my business, and then they go to the tax return, the tax transcripts from the IRS, and the business was only doing $100,000. And again, these are forms that you would pull up, sign, and then you would upload back onto the SBA's website. Now, for federal tax returns, the requirement is the last 3 years if you've been in business for 3 or more years. And again, let me just state, if you've only been in business 1 year, then you just submit your tax return for 1 year. If you've been in business for 2 years, you would submit and download and upload the 2 years tax return. If you've only been in business in less than 6 months, then you would then be preparing some kind of balance and income statement and possibly some projections to show SBA what your needs are for the coming year. The schedule of liabilities, that's the form I just said, that if I have business debts that are not in the operation, for instance, most of your business debt are paid off the balance sheet, but the operating expenses don't show that. This is what that sheet is. A schedule of liabilities is a sheet that you would be putting, I got $2,000 that I need to pay to People's Bank. I got another $3,000 in these credit cards that I also pay out. That's where you're going to be listing that, because SBA will be acknowledging and recognizing those debts as part of your monthly obligation that you need to have money for to cover your expenses for the foreseeable months. Then Form 413, that's your personal financial statement. That's a requirement for any SBA loan. That's kind of telling the SBA if the individual has, what are the personal assets that this individual has. If it's a partnership of, say, 33%, and I'll go back on this question, is that people ask, well, I only own 10% of the business. Well, the rule for IRS, if you own more than 20% of the business, then you would have to guarantee. If you owe less than 20%, you don't. So only those business owners that own more than 20% on a business would they have to sign personally on the loan. A good example would be a partnership that is 33% owned by 3 partners. All 3 partners would have to file their personal tax returns and the personal guarantee and personal financial statement that they would have to agree to. And again, if you have any questions on that, you could ask that towards the end of the program. We'll try to answer them. But there is a 1-800 number that you could also call, and I'll provide you that towards the end of the slides. Steve, next
Julio,
slide.
may I interject a minute?
Sure.
Okay. Just so you folks understand, we've been getting excessive traffic on the website, and it's been going up and down. We're trying to expand network availability and getting access to other servers. Julio mentioned about the beginning of payments. Automatically, the small business will have a deferment built into the loan for 4 months. We are trying to get definitive information because we're understanding that might be expanded. Also, when you apply, make sure your client is applying in the state where they are incorporated or where they are filed in. Lastly, if they are unable to do the online application, they are welcome to download the documentation and apply by mail or FedEx or whatever, but understand that's going to take a little bit longer. And if you're on extension from your tax returns, please submit the extension that you're on extension, that you've submitted an extension request with the IRS. And I'm back quiet.
Sure. Thank you, Bill, for reminding us on that. Also, work with your accountants or your bookkeepers, whoever they are. This is a time to reach out to them, especially when a lot of this information is uploaded through PDF. If you want the expedited process in terms of getting it to the hands. So PDF becomes very important and critical. So hopefully your accountant has your tax returns on a PDF format, which are those copies that you could download and look at it on your laptop or computer. And that really is the way you upload that information. So if you have hard copies of it and you have the ability to print them into a PDF format from your printer, then that's the way to go, so that you could download those or upload that information. So that becomes critical of getting the paper, the paper tax return onto a PDF format. If not, then you're going to have to make copies and do the mail, which would be the other alternative for you. Going on to this screen, this is the application screen. Hopefully you get to see. It's a registration screen. This is where you either have a PIN number, a password with your ID to get access to it. You would then be able to just register through that. So I would not worry about how to get through. The minute you're on that screen, is going to ask you if you've already been registered, or if you're new, you click the new. And then you're going to put your personal information. Most people have been asking, wait a minute, I'm applying for this under my business. SBA requires that the individual that's applying in the company name would have to fill out his or her personal information, including personal Social Security, on the registration screen. Once you complete that, SBA will provide you with that PIN number, will accept the PIN number that you created, and from there on, you'll be able to start beginning to process your application. Now, other information that is relevant, and sometimes we feel, I just have to send the front page of my tax return, or I'll just send them the two pages of my Schedule C or my partnership. SBA requires all schedules. So if you got a tax return with 20 pages and that's a completed tax return, please include all the pages and schedules. Anything that's missing will just hold up your loan in the process. So make sure you submit the completed tax return at the time that you're submitting your application. Also, I've gotten calls, well, I forgot one of the forms. Please, you could go back into the application process and then upload that missing form that you did not link. But SBA is going to be looking for all the form tabs that it's asking for you to fill out: the 4506T, the 413, which is the personal financial statement, and the 5 form, which is the information on the business. Along with those forms, it's going to be asking for your tax returns. If it's a corporation, it's going to ask for the business tax return along with the personal tax returns of the owner of the company. There is an additional form that's 1368. It's more of a, if you're going to use that, that's to determine your projections or your cash needs month over month. So you can fill that out also if you need that. Some folks have said, well, can I include cash flow projections? Sure, that would help. Just include them and upload them as attachments into your application process. Any information that could support more money over and above what you have on your tax returns, just include them. Just add them as additional information to an underwriter, because they're looking for as much information to help you with how much money you need. Steve, next slide. Here's where it's interesting, because the only time SBA can lend to a non-for-profit organization is in time of disaster. When we're up and running in a normal cycle, we do not. Under regulations, we can only provide funding for business operations that are not 501c3s. But during these times, SBA can, under regulation, lend to private non-for-profit organizations. And on top, you'll see the examples of the organizations that we can lend to: nursing homes, food kitchens, museums, educational facilities, senior homes, daycare centers, playhouses, community centers, shelters, rescue organizations, and associations. So I've been asked to speak with healthcare providers in the next, in fact, for next week. So I'm also reaching out to them because they do also qualify. And so they do have an association and they do want us to reach out to them. So I'll be making a presentation to them just to let them know that they do qualify under the program. And again, the way you know if you are a qualified not-for-profit is look at your status as a 501c3. Chances are you might have filed 990s. If you're not sure, but you know you're a non-for-profit, please just proceed in filing. Let SBA make that decision. Someone would call you back and you would just need to explain why and what are the issues and et cetera that would help you go through this process for you. Steve, next slide. Here's some of the organizations that are not eligible under the program, specifically agricultural enterprises. Now, what I've told anyone that's asked, USDA does have programs, and they're also under the declaration. They also declare under their administrative powers. So we would just refer you over to USDA under that bullet and see what they can provide to you if you're an agricultural business. Primarily these individual businesses, they probably know since they've been involved in other disasters in previous times, whether it was weather related. But if you have any direct questions on it, by all means, let me know. We could also refer you back to the USDA and see what provisions and assistance they could provide you under their program. Religious organizations are ineligible. Charitable organizations, businesses considered hobbies, government-owned concerns. I've had questions about the 501c6s, lobbying organizations. Under our rule, under the regs, those do not qualify. So if you're a lobbying organization, you might not qualify under the program. That does not mean that you cannot apply. Again, I just go ahead and apply and explain to SBA that even though you're a C6, but you're not a lobbying organization, and let them decide how to handle that for you. Gambling concerns, the 1/3 rule of annual revenue, if it's a gaming casino or anything like that, would not qualify. Casinos and race tracks also don't qualify. And real estate developers that are developing property or establishments do not qualify under the program. Steve, next slide. And again, I've explained, hopefully in detail, some of the stuff that's on this page here and how to apply. Even though I said SBA.gov disaster, that is one page before you get to if you see the first bullet there, disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. If you would have typed that in, that gets you right into the application. If you do the one I gave you earlier, the SBA.gov/disaster, that gets you to the one page before, where you have to then click to get to that front page up on the top. That's what the difference is. I would take advantage or write down both of them and use them if you need to get to the application website. For those that do not have the capability, and believe me, not every small business has the wherewithal to run a computer. Mind you, what the heck is a PDF? I don't know how to PDF my files. I don't know how to pull them up. All you're going to do then is you're going to contact our service center. they're manned by the individuals that are now being ramped up to service those applicants that cannot have access or know how to access online. And that number, I would write it down, is 1-800-659-2955. That's 1-800-659-2955. That is our answer center out of Buffalo, New York. And Buffalo, New York is being manned now with a number of people. They're ramping up and hiring more people that will help with the constant calling of assistance. And also, if you have any questions on your application or any problems with it, they have direct access to the screen and can work with you once you get a live person on the line to work with you. So if you have any issues on the application process, that would be the number to call. Again, mind you that the best time, I believe, would be after that rush hour between 9 and 5. Try to call them after 6 o'clock, maybe at 9 o'clock at night, but to try to call these folks in between 9 to 5, you might be put on a waiting list, or you might, one of the things that they do ask, if you want to leave your phone number, someone will call you back. So you could either wait online or have them call you back once you hang up. So those are your two options. Also, there is an email that you could also direct the call. Steve, next slide. And again, this is just a wrap up over here that the assistance, what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks has been working with our resource partners that the SBA either funds or are in partnership with. And these individual organizations have been meeting with us on a daily basis, and they've also ramped up to handle your calls so say for instance you don't understand the process, you can reach out to the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, the Women's Business Center, and the Veterans Outreach Center. And for instance, right now, and I'm certain that Diane, she has these individual phone numbers of these individuals. If you don't, then I will provide them to Diane, and then she could provide them to the listeners, so that in the event that they do not understand the process, or what do I need to know, or how do I do this, again, you could reach out to the Small Business Development Center. They're known as the SBDC. They're on the website. SCORE is on the website. And the Women's Business Center, there's an office in London. They're also on the website, and the Veterans Business Outreach Centers are also. So all of these points of contact are available to you for free. You do not have to pay for these resources. They will work with you in terms of helping you with the application process if you need. My suggestion is to try to work on this on your own, given that you could do it individually online. And then if you have any questions or issues, reach out to the partners. Next slide, Steve. And again, just to wrap up, recheck what you're doing. Try to remember tax returns. Try to remember, I need to get my personal tax returns, my business tax returns. Call your CPA. I'm having a conference call tomorrow with the State Society of CPAs, and they're going to be also engaging with a lot of the businesses because they also wanted information on the process for SBA. I'm going to be letting them know what their role is to try to help the small businesses that are working with them to make sure that they would provide them with the immediate information that they need to apply for these loans. So don't forget that reach out to your CPAs if you already have them, or your accountant. They will work with you on getting you the tax returns. Preferably ask them, if you're going to go online, that you want copies through email or PDF if they provide it to you to help you with the processing. Steve, next slide.
Can you interrupt a minute?
Yeah, Bill.
All right. So I got a couple of things I want to just touch base with you folks on. When the applicant gets to the website, they're going to need to register first. So they're going to see 3 bubbles. The bubble on the left is declared declarations. Do not click on that. click on the center bubble, first and foremost. That will take them directly to the application and registration process. They need to register first. Once they register, then they can start the application process. Julio mentioned accounts payable and those types of things. You don't have to necessarily fill out that form, but you can do an attachment and upload the attachment. Having said that, I think we need to advise people that in order to complete all forms and download everything properly, at this point, the website traffic is unbelievable. So if you can download the website forms and complete them, by hand or electronically, and then upload them on the cloud, that's great. But if not, you can print them and snail mail it. And right now we're trying to expand our bandwidth so that we can accept all these other disasters. You have to understand, this is the first time all 50 states, are in this together, and we're trying to get through this. So please understand that. We understand your customers are going to be saying, oh, I can't get into the website. We understand that. So if they want to download the forms, complete them by hand and snail mail it or Federal Express it, we'll look at that. We'll definitely do that intake as well. That's another option. Please don't think that is not an option. Okay. And at that point, I'm going to be back quiet again, Julio. I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Sure. I think, Steve, you will, I think from here on in, we'll be taking questions if the audience has any that we need to answer.
Correct. Thank you. If you have a question, you could submit it through the Q&A button or the chat button on your toolbar. We have two questions, Julio. The first question, are contractors eligible?
In what sense? Construction, or are we looking at any particular contractor? Or if you're a construction company, yes, you would just apply. You'll be providing all of the information just like any other company. And again, let SBA, and the key here is that if you let SBA decide what you need, that's not the way to go. Just add information, break out, do a cash flow, whatever it is, break out your debts, whatever it is that are specific to your business, and just upload that information, because the less information you're providing us, the final decision might not be what you're looking for because you didn't provide that piece of information. Talk to your accountant, talk to your CPA, or talk to the partners, SBDC, SCORE, or the women's business centers that are now up and running to help you answer some of these questions that you might not be aware of. But you want to detail everything you need in your business. So if you're a contractor, detail what your contracts were or are, and just include them in there. And then SBA will respond to that cash flow need, especially your payroll. That's the key to what nationally this disaster has been focused on is payroll. Include that in there. So if you're gonna keep your employees in place, put those in there. SBA will include that. So again, focus on payroll and employees when you're doing this.
Julio,
Okay,
excuse me. The information I got was a public works construction company.
Public works, anything that's a municipality, that's part of the municipality, they cannot apply. They have to be a for-profit enterprise. So if they're part of the municipality, now if they're a contractor to the city, then yes, they're separate from. But if it's the municipal works department, no, they would have to deal with the city and the state under any funding that's coming through the federal government to support the town or the city or whatever.
All right. The next question is, how does the personal finance statement work for a nonprofit which is not owned by anyone?
We've had that question. Bill, if Bill could chime in on that, because the key person at the top of the house of the non-for-profit would have to fill out as a guarantor for the non-for-profit. I know that's an issue, but that's part of the rules of SBA. Someone has to sign on behalf of the non-for-profit. Bill, you might want to chime in on this since we've been dealing with that question.
This is a fluid question, to be honest with you. Stuff that's going through the House and Senate right now, which may change the game, but as a general rule, SBA requires anybody who is 20% more owner of an enterprise guarantee the loan. And at this point in time, there's some things going through the House and Senate. We don't know till the president signs off on it and it's pushed down through Congress how that's going to work out. So my advice on that level, I guess, would be stay tuned. We'll do the best we can to answer the questions as they come available or the information does come available.
But as it stands right now, just, on a regular disaster loan, which is where we're at right now, this moment, this time and juncture, until changes are, usually the non-for-profit fills out all the forms, but the key person for that non-for-profit would have to sign and execute the documents for the non-for-profit. But they could also have them reach out to us, and we'll try to, if there's a specific need or question, we'll try to get that answer more clarified for them.
All right, Julio, another question. Once all forms are submitted, what is the turnaround time to receive funds, and how will we receive funds? ACH? Question mark.
Right. The underwriter and the closing team will work with them on how the funds are going to be dispersed. So there is someone that's going to walk with you all the way through the process. So that question and how the funds are allocated, you will work out with them at that point, whether it's ACH, a check, deposit at the bank, because you're going to be signing documents for the closing, and at the same time money's dispersed. So it'll probably be ACH at that time, because I doubt checks are going to be cut. This is from Treasury directly to SBA, directly to the client's hands. And the timing, it takes anywhere from 15 days to 21 days for the processing of your application. And at that point, you would be getting a commitment letter from SBA for the amount. You'll be probably talking to the underwriter during that time also. And at that point, you will then be given a closing date for you to sign documents. So you're looking, hopefully, I would say a matter of 21 to 30 days. This is where, if you've been hearing a lot about these bridge loans from the state, this is why the state is trying to work with a lot of these small businesses so that the bridge loan would get you through those dates of when the funds would be allocated to you. So the state came out with a program, but I can't speak on their behalf because it's their program. But it's supposed to, and the reason they call it a bridge loan is to try to help you with those days that you need money immediately, so that you could get that permanent money, which is where the SBA money comes in.
Julio, next question. As a private not-for-profit 501c3 with no collateral, what would we use? Also, what would we use to determine credit worthiness since there are no owners?
Don't worry about that. You filed 990s, just include your 990. We do not, we are not looking for collateral. We're just looking for repayment. So that's the goal, is show us that you could pay $50,000 in the good times. If for instance, if last year you have the capacity to pay $50,000 on your normal operations, paying all your bills and whatever time, so if you're looking at payroll, rent, electricity, whatever other means that you need to put your organization through on any given month, that's your cash flow times 4 months. That's your total cash flow, what you need. That's what SBA is going to fund. And then you have a 12-month deferment to make a payment. Anything that's coming down from Washington that we've been hearing, hopefully by the time the money is allocated, you have other decisions to make. Either the program would include the new structure that's coming from the federal government onto your loan program. So what we're doing today really is to try to get you into that mode of thinking, I got to get my paperwork together. Let me start processing so that if anything comes from the new CARE Act or the SBA loan program as it exists today, I already know.
Julio, do you want to discuss the Express Bridge Loan Program? You want me to quickly top it?
Yeah, go ahead. Bill Tierney, he's one of my colleagues at SBA. He works directly with the banks, so he's been in the he's the go-to guy at the office that makes sure that the banks are up to date with any of the changes that are impacting the banks as it relates to loans and also with SBA. So let me pass on Bill. He'll mention things that are happening now.
Okay, sometimes going to your bank may be the most direct way to get cash relief. So SBA has done what we call the Express Bridge Loan Program. It's not a deep bucket, but it's $25,000 if they're an existing SBA customer or a participating lender. That participating lender, which most of the lenders in the state are participating lenders, so don't worry about that. But if they are, have a relationship with a specific lender, they are entitled to apply for what we call Express Bridge Loan, and which is up to $25,000. They're up to 7 years in maturity, and they're just bullet loans basically to get the small business some cash immediately, and it's a low doc process for the lender. So keep that in mind too. That's just another option. More tools are coming available as we're speaking. So as we get more information, we're going to disseminate that information to the banks and to you folks. So please bear with us. We're going to get that information out as it becomes available.
Bill, explain that if they have an SBA loan at a bank, what they can do right now.
Okay, if you are an existing SBA borrower and you're having difficulty, contact your lender immediately. They have the ability to provide deferments up to 6 months automatically, whether it's what we call a 504 loan, which is made through a certified development company, or a regular SBA 7A loan. Even if you're having other difficulties previously, it's up to the lender to decide that how long they want to do the deferment. It might be a 3-month deferment initially, or it could be a 6-month. That's up to the lender. We're working with our lenders on that kind of thing, but they are proactively working on this, and they're trying to figure it out on their side because they've never had anything like this before themselves. So we're getting an influx of calls on what can we do, what can't we do. So one thing they can do, they can automatically give them 3 months where the loan is sold in the secondary market or it's held privately by the bank. Most lenders that I've spoken to, they're trying to give them 6-month deferments. Basically, they won't capitalize the interest. It'll be amortized out over the length of the loan, and they're going to have to extend the maturity of the loan, obviously, to keep the payment level.
Julio, I have 2 more questions. It's getting close to the top of the hour.
Sure.
I want to give you these 2 questions, and then Diane is going to give us some closing thoughts. First question, can other nonprofits other than 50c3 apply?
Any 501cs can apply. So
All right.
if you're registered as a 501c, the ones are, I think, municipalities. Those can't. But if you're besides the one, you can apply. And if you have any questions and you're specific with the 501c, what it is, just email it to us and we'll figure it out. But again, try not to concern yourselves at this moment. Just apply and let SBA work and respond to your question, knowing that you're already applying in the queue or in the portal. So, and again, reach out to Diane. She'll send me the information, your organization's information, and we'll get back to you with the answer.
All right, thank you. The next question, so for the bridge loan, and we bank at Bank of America, we should go to Bank of America and mention this SBA bridge loan program, and we can get up to 25K faster?
I'll handle that, Julio.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, absolutely. If Bank of America is your bank of account, absolutely talk to the folks at Bank of America. You'll be probably talking to somebody in South Carolina or North Carolina, wherever their central servicing location is. They are up to date and up to snuff on what they are able to do. Whether they choose to do it or not is up to them. We cannot tell the banks what they're supposed to do. Again, if they are an existing customer and they need a deferment, that would be my first place, because Bank of America generally, as a general rule, does not sell their loans. But if the loan is sold in the secondary, they can automatically do a bullet deferment up to 3 months. And yes, the $25,000 loan would be much more faster than going through the regular disaster loan process at this point.
All right, thank you, Bill. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to turn it over to Diane so she can close, and then I guess if there's information or follow-up questions, Julio, Diane will have your contact information to give to everyone.
Sure. And as we get the new regulations that are coming out with the CARE Act, I'm open next week or the next couple of days to come back and talk about the new program. Or, because we have to wait until it goes through right now, it's headed to Congress, and from there it has to go to the White House. There might be changes. So until those changes are made and we actually get the written rules to SBA, it's very difficult to say to anyone what the new structure of any of these monies and programs will be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Diane, I'm turning it over to you, please.
Okay, Steve, thank you. So I just want to remind everybody that our Business Resource Center has all of the partners that were mentioned. They all have satellite offices out of the chamber, and right now, while none of us are meeting in person, when that is lifted, if you're working with somebody, you want to make sure you're working with a local person so that in the future you can go and meet them personally at the chamber and be able to work with them rather than having to drive to New London or Hartford or other places like that. So if you're looking to work with the SBDC, the Women's Business Development Center, the Veterans Business, SCORE, any of those organizations for help or assistance. And at this time, the Small Business Development Center, Greg Lewis is our main contact. He's been working with a lot of businesses to help complete the SBA loan process. Just give us a call at the chamber and we'll forward you right to them. Or you could go to, again, our website, which has information on the Resource Center and who the local contacts are. Again, thank you guys all for coming. I hope you all stay healthy, and we will definitely do another one of these when the program, the federal government program passes and we know what the details are.
Thank you, Diane. Bill, did you have a comment before we wrap it up?
Yes, I just want to make sure everybody knows our offices are closed locally here as a matter of, what the governor has mandated. So we are physically not in our offices. So make sure that, you don't send people directly to our offices right now. We all are working virtually. So if you have a customer that needs immediate help, my name is William Tierney, william.tierney@sba.gov. Please feel free to reach out. My information is online. Please feel free to call me, and Julio as well. We're going to handle questions as they come, and we're one big team in Connecticut. We got 6 people here, and we're pounding the pavement as best we can. So just let your clientele know that we're on their side and we're here to help. We're trying to address questions as the information becomes available to us.
All right, thank you, Bill, and thank you everyone for joining us. We're signing off. Have a good day. Thank you.